The scene unfolds within a gangster headquarters, a sinister hub also used for drug manufacturing. Damien, our protagonist, pays a visit to the gang's leader with the intention of retrieving the drugs he intends to sell. However, the boss accuses one of his own men of betrayal, describing the traitor with traits that uncannily fit Damien himself. The boss commands his underlings to eliminate Damien. In a swift and masterful display of combat, Damien manages to overpower all of the gang members. Surprisingly, Damien reveals his true identity as a secret agent who had been undercover the entire time. The boss, now fatally wounded, discloses that he and his gang had discovered the whereabouts of Damien's family. Fearing the worst, Damien rushes to his home to check on his wife, only to discover her lifeless body. The gangsters had ruthlessly murdered his wife before targeting him. A month later, Damien is still grappling with the loss of his wife. His days are consumed by grief and alcohol, leading him to resign from his undercover role as an agent. His friend, Simon, reaches out to him, urgently seeking his assistance. Simon reveals that many of his students at school have become addicted to a deadly drug called fentanyl, and numerous deaths have occurred due to overdoses in recent months. Simon suspects that the drug distribution is somehow connected to the school itself and implores Damien for help in solving the case, given his extensive experience. Despite the gravity of the situation, Damien initially suggests involving the police. However, Simon discloses that he has already reported the issue multiple times, with no response or follow-up from law enforcement. Traumatized by his wife's murder and wary of becoming involved again, Damien initially refuses Simon's request. Unbeknownst to them, their conversation is overheard by Simon's high school student daughter, Camille. The following night, Damien is spotted at a convenience store, purchasing beverages. A group of local thugs attempts to engage him in a fight, but Damien calmly and effortlessly dispatches them, one by one. In the meantime, Simon undertakes a risky mission, believing a certain warehouse to be the gang's drug storage facility. However, he is discovered while attempting to enter the warehouse and tragically loses his life that night. The following day, Damien stumbles upon the news of Simon's death on television. The police have concluded that Simon was the drug dealer posing as a teacher, supplying drugs to students at the school. They also suggest that Simon's demise was a result of suicide. Upon hearing this news, Damien is overwhelmed with guilt for having initially rejected Simon's plea for help in uncovering the drug issue at his school. Damien becomes convinced that Simon was deliberately framed by the real perpetrators. That day, Damien visits Simon's home, trying to console Simon's wife and vouching for Simon's innocence. However, a police officer already present at their house insults Camille, Simon's son, insinuating that he is the child of a drug dealer. This provokes Camille to physically confront the police officer, prompting Damien to intervene and demand Camille's release. A few weeks later, Damien devises a plan to apply for a teaching position at the school where Simon once taught. His intention is to unravel the drug case and prove Simon's innocence. When he arrives at the school, Damien is warmly received by the principal. Coincidentally, the school is in dire need of a teacher, and the principal is determined to restore the institution's tarnished reputation. To prevent further drug distribution within the school, the principal informs Damien that a security agent has been hired. Shortly thereafter, Damien is introduced to a woman named Agaya, and their acquaintance begins. The principal assigns Agaya the task of showing Damien around the school and introducing him to the other teachers. The following day, Damien entered the classroom, ready to begin his teaching journey. However, he quickly realized that the students in his class had little respect for him. One student, Roy, displayed particularly arrogant behavior and defied Damien's attempts at discipline. Thankfully, a guy and the school's security agent, Kwielski, promptly intervened and removed Roy from the classroom. Later that evening, as a guy was leaving for home, Roy returned with some of his friends. It was revealed that Roy had developed a sinister interest in regatta and had sinister intentions. Fortunately, Damien arrived on the scene, accompanied by another teacher, and managed to subdue Roy and his friends single-handedly. The witnessing teacher was in awe of Damien's combat skills. Following this incident, Roy was apprehended by a group of delinquents from the same school, led by a student named Jason. These delinquents were involved in ruling the drug trade within the school. They made sure Roy paid a heavy price for jeopardizing their operations, including breaking his leg to maintain their secrecy. The next day, all the teachers had the opportunity to view the security camera footage of Damien's impressive combat skills. The principal expressed gratitude to Damien for his actions. Before heading to his class, Damien was approached by Kwielski, who questioned Damien about his true identity. Damien assured Kwielski that he was simply a history teacher. When Damien entered the classroom, he discovered that the students had learned about his martial arts prowess. During recess, they eagerly requested that Damien teach them martial arts for self-defense. Damien was pleased by their enthusiasm and agreed to provide martial arts lessons during recess. Camo, who had returned to school after his father's death, confronted Damien in the locker room. He was angry with Damien for ignoring his father's plea for help in the case that ultimately led to his father's demise. Damien tried to explain that his goal as a teacher at the school was to prove Simon's innocence and make amends. That night, Damien shared dinner with a guy who had developed feelings for him. As the evening progressed, they grew closer, almost becoming intimate. However, Damien was haunted by memories of his deceased wife, causing him to abruptly leave without explanation. He was still struggling to cope with the loss of his wife. The next evening, while walking home, Damien stumbled upon one of the school delinquents involved in a drug transaction. Damien bravely approached the individual and inquired about the source of the drugs. However, the delinquent was too terrified to reveal the truth. He feared retribution from his boss and decided to keep quiet. The following day, a student named Amelia was embroiled in an argument with Jay Zek. She was furious because Jay Zek had led her best friend down the path of drug addiction. Without hesitation, Jay Zek and his gang began to bully Amelia. At that moment, Camel appeared, unable to stand by while someone was being mistreated. He intervened, urging them to leave Amelia alone, but they responded by assaulting him. Once they had finished, Jay Zek issued a stern warning, threatening anyone who dared to report the incident to a teacher. Damien noticed the bruises covering Camel's face and immediately inquired about what had happened. However, Camel, still gripped by fear, chose not to disclose the truth and instead claimed that he had merely tripped and injured himself. Amelia also refrained from speaking out, as she too feared retaliation. One of the students then approached Damien, requesting that he teach them self-defense so they could protect themselves from the bullies and drug dealers. Damien recognized the merit of this idea and agreed to provide the students with self-defense training. He instructed them to meet him at a warehouse after school, where they could begin their lessons together. Damien established a regular self-defense training arena for the students, where he imparted various techniques to help them protect themselves. Despite a strained relationship, Damien and Agaya maintained professionalism in their interactions. Each night, Damien vigilantly monitored the activities of the delinquents, including Jay Zek. One day, he discovered a stash of drugs that the delinquents intended to distribute. Damien swiftly alerted the police, leading to the capture of some of Jay Zek's henchmen. However, Damien remained unaware that Kamielski was keeping a watchful eye on him. One evening, after finishing a self-defense training session with his students, Damien was ambushed by a group of masked assailants who sought to eliminate him. Using his exceptional combat skills, Damien managed to defeat his attackers, leaving them battered and incapable of overpowering him alone. The following day, it became evident to Damien that the individuals who had attacked him were Kamielski's henchmen, as they bore the telltale bruises from their failed assault. Jay Zek, growing increasingly frustrated with Damien's interference, approached Kamielski with a plan to eliminate Damien. They concocted a fabricated story in which Damien was accused of sexually harassing Amelia. Under duress and fearing for her father's life, Amelia was forced to corroborate this false claim. Upon learning of this accusation, Damien was summoned to the school by the principal and Agata. The principal expressed disbelief in Damien's alleged misconduct but had no choice but to suspend him temporarily. Subsequently, Kamielski and his goons were tasked with forcibly removing Damien from the school premises. That night, Damien clandestinely visited Amelia and confronted her about the false accusations. She confessed that she had been coerced into making these allegations to protect her father from harm, as she had been threatened by Jay Zek and his associates. Filled with determination, Damien visited Roy, who had previously been assaulted by Kamielski's men, and inquired about the drug operation's whereabouts. Roy disclosed that the drugs were being manufactured within the school itself. Armed with this information, Damien sneaked into the school and covertly entered the laboratory where the drugs were being concocted. To his surprise, the chemistry teacher, Stefan, was revealed as the manufacturer. Damien witnessed some of the henchmen transporting the drugs in a van and managed to take a photograph of the evidence before discreetly tailing the vehicle. Upon arrival at the pier, Damien confronted the thugs but skillfully defeated them. He promptly contacted Agatha and the school principal, arranging an urgent meeting. Damien explained that he had witnessed the chemistry teacher manufacturing drugs and observed Kamilski and his men transporting the illicit substances to the pier. However, when the principal contacted the individuals Damien had mentioned, they provided an alibi for Stefan, stating that he had been cleaning the laboratory at the time. With incomplete evidence, Damien was left with no recourse. In the following days, Agatha visited Damien at his home, revealing that she had already learned of his innocence from Amelia's confession. Damien took the opportunity to explain his reasons for leaving her previously, expressing his genuine feelings for her while also disclosing his true identity. Together, Damien and Agatha were determined to expose the drug distribution network operating within their school, an investigation that Damien had been tirelessly pursuing. Their first course of action was to interrogate the chemistry teacher, Stefan, about the location of the drugs. However, before Stefan could reveal anything, Kamilski arrived on his motorcycle and fatally shot Stefan. The next night, Agatha met with Damien again and showed him a notebook that had belonged to Simon. Inside the notebook, they found a map that led to a warehouse. Both Damien and Agatha believed that this warehouse held all the drugs they were searching for. In haste, they made their way to the warehouse, unaware that Kamilski had been shadowing their every move. Upon reaching the warehouse, Damien was immediately confronted by Kamilski's henchmen. He fought them off skillfully, determined to find the necessary evidence. Eventually, they discovered a stockpile of drugs ready for distribution. However, their discovery was short-lived as they were suddenly surrounded by Kamilski, Jay Zek, and his gang. To their astonishment, the mastermind behind these crimes turned out to be the school principal. He revealed himself, convinced that he had trapped both Damien and Agatha. In defiance, he threatened to beat Damien to death. However, their situation took a dramatic turn when Camel and all the students who had been trained by Damien arrived on the scene. A fierce battle ensued between the drug-dealing thugs and the students. The students, empowered by their newfound self-defense skills, fought back valiantly. During the brawl, Camel even managed to defeat Jay Zek, the leader of the student bullies. Meanwhile, Damien engaged in a duel with Kamilski. Despite Kamilski's appearance of strength, Damien proved to be his superior and easily overpowered him. Damien then confronted the principal, who was holding Agatha hostage. When the principal momentarily let his guard down, Agatha managed to break free. Damien seized the opportunity to confront the principal but was shot in the arm. Fortunately, his injury was not life-threatening. However, as the principal prepared to take another shot, Camel intervened and caused the principal's demise by knocking over numerous bottles. Shortly thereafter, the police arrived at the scene to restore order and handle the situation. Thanks to their intervention, they were finally able to clear Simon's reputation and bring an end to the drug distribution within the school.